Hello and welcome to the channel. Please take the time to like the video and subscribe so that you never miss out on more videos. Thank you. Today's video takes us to the lush evergreen forests of Alberta, Canada, to the town of Valley View. The ecosystem is surrounded by aspen trees and forest swamps with thick brush near the rivers. The typical wildlife here are white-tailed deer, moose, and caribou, and the main predators that roam this area are wolves, bobcats, cougars, lynx, and bears. The area here is extremely humid, which makes the animals, including visitors, tend to stick near the rivers. On the dry day of November 13, 2016, Rick Hollingsworth and his close friend, Sammy, were headed to go deer hunting. Even though there was no reasonable explanation for it, Rick was the only one armed, as they really had planned the hunt to basically spend more time together and not so much of catching a trophy in the wilderness. Early in the morning, Rick and his close friend, Sammy, drove up to the parking site, unloaded, and headed into the forest. By this time it had just begun to snow, so they pulled out their hand warmers and kept searching while chatting about old times. Not too long after, they spotted a pack of wolves feeding on a carcass, but it seemed as if the wolves suddenly were spooked of their presence because they took off sprinting immediately, while still keeping an eye out for the carcass that was almost fully consumed. As the two went to inspect, they found that it was a deer, and this also let them know that what they were looking for was nearby. As Rick and Sammy began to make their way away from the carcass, there was a loud rambling in the forest. It sounded like something coming right at them, getting closer by the second. Before they had time to even think, a huge brown bear burst out of the bush and was coming straight for Sammy. The bear pounced on Sammy and instantly began its attack, clawing and even trying to bite Sammy's face. While Rick watched in horror for about 2 seconds, he realized that he had to do something to help. While the screams of his friend echoed, Rick chambered around and shot. But with all of the adrenaline running, he hip-fired, which caused an incorrect shot placement. The bullet, which was from a .308 caliber hunting rifle, hit the bear in its left arm, and after feeling the discomfort, the bear stood up on its hind legs to figure out what happened, and this gave Sammy some time to run for cover. But the bear still had plans for him, ignoring the unpleasant pain it just felt. The bear started to go after Sammy again. By this time, Rick was sure that he had the perfect shot lined up. Rick shot the bear in the side of its rib cage, and this really made it furious. The bear focused on Rick and charged at him instantly. Before he could get another shot off, the bear was on top of him, clawing and biting. Since Sammy, who continued running and was long gone by now, Rick thought his life was over. As the bear went for a final bite to the head of Rick to seal the deal, it suddenly started to cough up blood and its movements rapidly declined. The bullet hit a main artery and was a perfectly placed shot on Rick's part. The bear collapsed on top of Rick, who wiggled until he was from underneath the enormous creature. After getting up, Rick felt the need to finish the bear for good, so that no one else would get hurt. So Rick aimed in the bear's face and put a bullet in it. Shortly after, Rick started to run in the same direction his close friend Sammy went. After a long walk, Rick finally met up with Sammy, where the two then waited for the ambulance. Given that Sammy already called out, it wasn't too long after until they came and treated Rick. After being transported to the nearest hospital, the doctors concluded that Sammy had been seriously injured, so they gave him an undisclosed amount of stitches. The following day, a group of researchers scanned the area for the bear, who happened to be nowhere in sight. The attack was ruled as non-predatory and unprovoked, so a green light was put out on the bear. In bear country, it is very important that visitors keep themselves well protected because you never know what wild animals are thinking. With this frightening bear attack in mind, I have a few questions for you. Do you think that Rick got lucky, or was his shots perfectly placed? Do you think the bear will be found? And what do you think caused this attack? Please leave your answers in the comment section down below, and I will be glad to meet you there. Please help the channel grow by liking this video and subscribing. Also turn on post notifications to never miss out on these amazing stories. Thanks for watching, and remember to always be careful out there in bear country.